Okay, I'm ready to go. Our first session is zero waste food service packaging. Now, the pandemic has made this issue one of our highest priorities. We're not diving into the problem now. Just know that we are trying to pass legislation that bans single-use plastic bags and polystyrene in food service containers, and that all of our members are on a pathway to being plastic-free, and dozens of them already are. Remember, your proximity to a commercial composting facility in Colorado does play a large role in how you approach this issue. So please stick around for our composting session speakers coming up next, who are going to address the connection between your packaging choices and your food waste and compost plan. We are here to support every business we can transition away from plastic packaging. With our organizational partners that you'll be meeting shortly, we are able to offer financial and programmatic support to assist you. We're going to start at the top, which is reusable food and beverage containers. Last September, Resilient Restaurants donated some small and large reusable clamshells to our partners in La Plata County, Durango's Local First. And it's a pilot program that offers a reusable container lending library that can be borrowed by community events throughout the year. Local First is now being led by Emily Bell, whom I've had the pleasure of working with since we started this pilot. And it's my pleasure to introduce Emily now as our first speaker of the Earth Day Summit. Welcome.
Thanks, Robert, and thanks for having me. This will be really exciting to get to talk about. I did put together some slides, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, can you see it okay? All right, awesome. Well, thanks for having me, everybody. I'm excited to tell you about this reusable eco clamshell lending library that we have here in La Plata. So first, a little background on Local First. We are a nonprofit alliance of locally owned independent businesses and organizations here in La Plata County. So we have about 260 kind of like-minded businesses and organizations that all focus really on this triple bottom line. So we're all working together to build an economy that values people, the planet, and prosperity for everyone. So Earth Day and sustainability are huge priorities for us, which is how we formed this partnership with Resilient Restaurants. A little bit more about food here in La Plata County, because it's important to know kind of how we got to this point with this lending library. We actually have the highest number of restaurants per capita in the country. So we have one restaurant for every 99 residents here. And as a result, food service employs about 10% of our population. So, really tied into our economy and our industry. And as many of you know, the impact of COVID and the pandemic on our restaurant community across the country, across the globe, has been quite severe. And those statistics are that, 2 out of 3 restaurant employees have been furloughed or laid off due to COVID-related reasons. So, very much a top priority for us as we were looking to serve our businesses through this past year was figuring out how best to support our restaurant and food and agriculture businesses. So one way that we had done that in the past, we had an annual harvest dinner. This was a 150-person annual fundraiser outdoors under a big tent. Everybody was at long farmers' tables. We brought in 5 to 10 chefs who would work with, 3 or 4 farmers or farms each and create this amazing multi-course meal. So a lot of fun, a great way to generate that in-person connection to your food and a way for us to showcase the local food community here in La Plata County. Obviously, in 2020, that was not an option for us. So as we were looking at adapting this program, we ended up landing on the idea of creating gourmet takeout food. Instead of doing an in-person gathering, we wanted to keep everybody safe, but also really prioritize keeping our food businesses open and working in a safe way. So we actually expanded from doing 1 night and 1 dinner to doing 4 weeks of this program. We involved more restaurants because we just had more opportunities. We incorporated direct payment to businesses. In the past, this had been a major fundraiser for Local First. And while that was still a component this year, we prioritized paying those businesses to help keep them in business and keep their doors open. We also did donations to nonprofits each week, ultimately with this goal of recirculating dollars and keeping employees working in a safe way, and businesses having predictable, steady orders for each given week. So with this came a little bit of questioning of how are we going to solve the issue of takeout meals. Doing it at this volume, we had 100 tickets available each week. How are we going to package these gourmet meals in a way that aligns with our values, that's sustainable? So we kind of ran through our options. We could do single-use plastic. That obviously was not appealing to us. We knew that would just go straight into the waste stream. Some recycling, but we really didn't want to contribute much to that system. Another option was compostables. And as Robert mentioned, each region is different in terms of the composting facilities available. And here in La Plata County, ours is working on being able to take commercial compostables and process them. But at this point, that's not possible yet. So we knew that wouldn't be the best option for our community. So we ended up landing on reusable containers. And Robert was a big part of helping us, come to this conclusion and figure out what would work best. So I'll show you what I mean. These are our eco clamshells here. And so they come in this really durable food grade plastic that's, I think they can stand, it was like up to 20,000 commercial washes through a washing machine. So extremely durable and reusable. But that did become another question for us. Are we going to be able to wash and sanitize these in a way that's safe and, time effective? And thankfully, thanks to many of our restaurant partners and programmatic partners, we were able to find a location that donated their commercial dishwasher. So the way this program ended up functioning was each week, the participants would take away their food in their reusable container, and they would end up with a container of this size. And then we had a smaller container option for sides and desserts. So they would take all of that home with them in a reusable bag. And then the next week, when they came to pick up their next meal, they would return their used ones, and we would put that into our dirty pile and wash and sanitize it for the next week. And we were really grateful to Resilient Restaurants and Robert for supplying us with enough containers that we had plenty of buffer. If folks happened to forget one week, we were able to work around that, and it didn't cause any issues for us. So in the end, this was a really successful program. We were able to offer 4 weeks of sustained business to these restaurants, recirculated $13,000 that was raised through this program, and ultimately supported 35 businesses and 7 nonprofits. So something that we were really proud of, and that we're excited to be able to share with our community moving forward. So because of pandemic health restrictions, we haven't been able to lend out too many of these containers. We've done a couple here and there, but as we move forward, we have partners in the community who know about this. They're excited to use these containers. And it's something that anyone in our community, from restaurants to nonprofits, is able to use. So we're excited about that possibility, and even potentially adding to our lending library. So thank you so much for having me, and I'll look forward to questions later in the session.
Thank you, Emily, so much. That was a great overview of the program, and really excited about how things will expand from planting that first seed.
Yeah, we are too. Thanks, Robert.
You're welcome. Hopefully we'll hear from you again in the Q&A. So moving on, I actually have a little bit of the next slot as well. One of the main messages I'm interested in sharing today is that the environmental impact of food packaging is pervasive when it comes to our planet's water in all of its forms and cycles. The planet's surface, our bodies, and our food are made up of mostly water, as you know, and we have thrown away so much plastic that our oceans will soon carry more plastic than fish. I'm going to jump right into microplastics, because at this level, we are discovering degraded plastics and toxic chemicals in newborns, in our water supply, in our oceans and bodies and food supply. Consuming microplastics is now essentially globally unavoidable, and we're still trying to adopt policies that even acknowledge there's a problem. So this is clearly up to us. I'm putting links in the chat right now for the two programs that I'm going to share with you. These are things that I've been working on personally for the last several months. The first is called foodpackagingguide.com, which is basically an online resource for navigating the complexities of the food service packaging, both from the industry itself and the brands and products that are available. My original intent was to have educational and product review videos in addition to the resources available there now. The best page on there, other than a couple of the videos there, is probably the resources page, where you can navigate a lot of the stakeholders in the industry. There are two major ways to rank the true sustainability of a food or beverage container. The first is based on a life cycle assessment data and science to determine the products with the most benefit and the least negative impact on all living things, our environment included. The second rank is for real world quality and performance. And a lot of that is missing in the sphere of ranking products for their sustainability. So this site aims to provide credible information so that you can determine what are the best samples for you to try, not just based on how sustainable it is, but how well it works in the real world. Another more ambitious project is recoverybasin.org, which has been organically developing since we started the Durango pilot program. My original challenge was to create a feasibility study template for cities to use to determine the best reusable container program for them and their community. I set out to understand the best reusable container programs being used. Most of them are third-party warewashing services in major cities in the US. Now, they are primarily mobile technology and profit-driven companies, and in time, they will partner with third-party delivery apps as well. And so looking forward, altogether, this poses a large risk in my perspective and has a much higher carbon and water footprint and significantly more greenhouse gas emissions than the recovery basin model. So I've ramped up things these last couple of months simply because of Boulder's upcoming RFP to pilot a program here and to support our members in the area. The working title is Boulder Basin Collective, and Recovery Basin is a registered nonprofit in Colorado. And the model is based on community co-design and collective operation. And I'm introducing a term here, I think it's called regenerative community infrastructure. I've created my own food and beverage container line, and they consist of various sizes of these stainless steel basins with locking polypropylene lids. I also have 12 and 16 ounce insulated cups that we'll be offering to coffee shops and for use for alcoholic beverages, cocktails, and I'm hoping restaurants will be interested in using these thermoses for hot soups and sauces. For our portion cups and sides, I'm going to recommend small stainless steel rounds that we'll be able to offer as well. And I mentioned before that we're trying to ban plastic bags in single-use retail situations. And one of the ways that Recovery Basin would like to raise money for our program is to sell some merchandise, reusables, directly to consumers and raise money. So I've created a tote bag that is made from 100% recycled material. This was made in Boulder County, and they are designed specifically to fit our food containers, and a family of 4 can each have 2 containers, and you can leave with your meal there. And so really excited about what can happen with us really trying to shift the paradigm in our relationship to takeout food. So how it would work for customers is you will receive reusable basins when you order your takeout meal by participating in one of 2 ways. The first is pay as you go, which is a very simple deposit return system. So you'll pay $10 for every basin that you need for your order. And then when you return them to the collective, any participating business, you'll receive a $9 return. Or customers can join the collective as guest members and pay as little as $30 a year to essentially continually be able to borrow anywhere from 2 to 12 basins at any given time. There very well could be a warewashing service as well, because we want to be able to serve customers that don't have washing capabilities. And this includes food trucks. And for corporate and community service contracts, we'll be able to have a third-party warewashing service for them. There's a lot more to it, but if you'd like to learn more, just get in touch with me. And right now, I would like to tee up our next speaker. She is going to share with you more packaging resources and how we are mobilizing a national campaign to accept reusables in food service. Please welcome Kasia Patel from Oceanic Global.
Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for having me in, and hi all. Happy beginning of Earth Week. I'm sure you all are busy between different programs, but it's exciting to be celebrating this special week of awareness and action with you all. I also have some slides prepared, so let me just turn those into full screen and share that with you. Give me one moment. Perfect. So my name is Kasia Patel. I'm the program director of Oceanic Global. And for those who are not familiar, I'll just briefly share some background. We are an ocean conservation nonprofit, and our focus is really to inspire others to care deeply about our ocean and to provide tools to protect it wherever you might be. All of our lives are tied to the ocean, even if we're in landlocked regions. The ocean provides most of the oxygen we breathe. The ocean is the region that we have temperature regulation on this planet. The ocean actually provides the primary source of protein for 3 billion people on Earth. And as we're talking here about plastic and waste, all plastic eventually ends up in the ocean as the final destination and the final sink. And so litter that is abandoned in landlocked regions ends up in the ocean. Just another reminder of how we're also interconnected. So just to explain that tie-in. Our focus at Oceanic Global is to really focus on behavior change. So really within 2 pillars of action, one more at the grassroots, individual, community level. So how can we take action in our own lives, with our own families, within our own communities? And we have a hubs program. So we actually have volunteer-based chapters in New York, LA, London, Barcelona, and that's growing around the world. So if you're in any of those regions, please reach out and can get involved. Our hubs are focused on youth empowerment, education, policy reform, and further building awareness and action in whatever way feels locally relevant. On the other side, we have an industry program, and this is what I'll speak mostly about today, as is relevant for this audience, where we actually work with businesses to help businesses like restaurants, hotels, sports stadiums, music festivals, office spaces, eliminate single-use plastics and improve waste management. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we do that as well, but certainly with working with some of the solutions mentioned today, like Local First, and with a lot of the solutions that Robert has been vetting, and just a part of our broader network and coalition that we've been building, which is really exciting. Oh, there we go. Yes, so in the program currently is called the Oceanic Standard, and we have resources available on our website to walk businesses through a step-by-step process of how to eliminate single-use plastics in our operations. We really do focus on hospitality, so restaurants and hotels have been a major part of that program, and that's why there's so much overlap with the Resilient Restaurants community and with others who have spoken today as well. And we do have regional resources as well, because as has been mentioned, waste management varies so greatly between different areas, even between different parts of the same city, that needs to be taken into account, as well as what policy is in place. So are single-use plastics already banned? Which items? Are there any waste management laws that need to be taken into account? And then also what local solutions are available, what local reusable solutions exist, how can we be supporting a local economy in this market shift to finding solutions? And so with our program, we do have our open source resources, which are available just on our website at oceanic.global. If you go to the solutions tab, you'll see all of our information there with our resources for the different industries and the different regions around the world. In addition to that, we also do have a consulting service. So we work hand in hand with businesses to help them achieve their goals. And we start by conducting a full assessment of everything it is that a business is consuming: straws, cups, bottles, takeaway containers, to see which items they're using that are single-use plastic and how we can help them find alternatives. Again, primarily highlighting reusables as the best solution, but then seeing what else fits with, if disposables are required, what would work within their existing waste management infrastructure and based on where they are. And so we do have, in addition to that consulting service, a badge system to help businesses set their goals and to help recognize and celebrate what it is that they've achieved. So our current system is 4-tiered, and I will just share a caveat with everyone that we're in the process of rebranding this program. So we'll have a new name and badge system available in just a month from now, which we're really excited about. So we'll be sharing some more info on that, but the integrity and the essence of the program will stay the same. So now the first badge is straw-free for businesses that eliminate single-use plastic straws. The second tier is Sustainability Steward for eliminating 3 forms of single-use plastics, which could include straws. So really focusing on celebrating incremental change every step of the journey and showing how this compounds. The third tier is Ocean Champion for eliminating 6 forms of single-use plastics, which again could include the previous items, and then also has a focus on waste management solutions. So looking at the recycling, composting, food donation, finding more creative ways to reduce waste and to manage waste. And the highest level badge is plastic free. And this is single-use plastic free. So eliminating all forms of single-use plastics. The relation to hospitality, we're talking about front of house and back of house. So what is consumer facing, what's behind the scenes in the kitchens, like plastic wrap or storage containers and gloves, things that can be more challenging to find alternatives to. And we work with businesses in their communication strategies, both on-site, digitally. How do you celebrate this? Especially when we do work with music and with sports, how do you celebrate this with your fans? How does this create a culture shift? And I mentioned our focus is behavior change. And what we find is that these businesses are lifestyle centers of culture. These are really influential businesses for people's individual and daily practices. So your favorite hotel, your favorite cafe, your favorite athlete or musician will certainly influence the way that you behave, and could also open your mind to trying new actions that might have previously seemed too far away for you to conceive. So whether that's bringing a reusable water bottle, having water filtration systems on site, or having a reusable takeaway and dining program at a stadium, which are all things that we're starting to push our partners in the direction towards. So we launched the program in April 2018, and actually we currently are working with 400 businesses in 26 different countries. And the reason this program has been so successful is because we offer our tools and training to people around the world so that they can step up as leaders in their own community and be engaging their favorite businesses and businesses in their community with this and through this framework. We also did create, through a coalition effort and in consultation with a lot of other nonprofits and industry leaders, a series of COVID-19 plastic-free reopening guidelines to demonstrate to the industry at large that reusables can be safe if the proper disinfectant and cleaning protocols are in place. And I know Robert mentioned earlier, that's what our recent campaign that we've launched very recently is to further highlight and gain momentum around. So recognizing so first we talk about the truth. What is the truth about COVID-19? How does it really spread? How do we prevent that spread? And oh, sorry. So sorry, one second. I think I have something playing in the background. Okay, there we go. So many screens open. Yeah, so first talking about the spread of the truth of COVID-19, how does it spread? How do we prevent that spread? And then actually talking about specific operational recommendations. So we created resources for the hotel and restaurants industry, as well as for the sports and events industry. And we also spoke about regulations that currently are in place and looking at global regulations. So in places like Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and in Europe, specifically Germany, Switzerland, Scotland, and the UK, more broadly, there's a lot of reusable friendly regulation with response to COVID, and we haven't seen that in the same degree in the US. And so just kind of showing that broader picture for context and to recognize what do we actually know about this virus and how to stay healthy while maintaining a focus on sustainability. Because in essence, with sustainability, we're focusing on health and safety in the long term. I'll skip over this slide at the moment because I know we're a little short on time, but I'll just mention briefly that in this, we're talking about greenwashing with relation to plastic alternatives. We've got a lot of information on our website. This is already brought up today, but compostable plastics that require certain facilities only work where you have access to those facilities. Other terms might be used, but really you want to make sure that you're looking at materials that have a certain certification, and then to understand what that certification implies about that material. I also just wanted to share, in a sense, the good news about consumer sentiment and demand, the demand that is out there for businesses to continue to increase and improve their practices and what they're doing. Just to call out a few numbers here. So from a recent study from Sourcing Journal, 57% of adults globally want businesses to focus more on sustainability and the environment in 2021, this year. There's also a recent study from GlobeScan reporting that 6 in 10 respondents under the age of 30, so the next generation, is really prioritizing restructuring society to deal with the systems of inequality and climate change as a priority for post-pandemic recovery. So even in this really challenging moment, people want businesses to step up and reflect their values and to take the time to reset and to rebuild on the right foot. So this is all really encouraging and something that businesses are being forced to reconcile with and respond to, and in ways that are really exciting as well. A few actions that we can take in our own lives. Just wanted to mention the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act, which is a piece of federal legislation that many in the space are considering to be a silver bullet to address plastic pollution in the US. And it really is quite holistic in its approach, and considering the communities that are impacted by the petrochemical industry, but then also holding companies accountable for cleaning up their messes and investing in waste management infrastructure, supporting reuse and refill systems, supporting deposit systems that actually support job creation in the informal recycling sector. So there's a lot in there that we encourage people to check out. And then I did want to talk about our Reopen with Reuse campaign. The essence is that we are calling on beloved restaurants, food service venues, national parks, and beyond, and events, festivals to reopen with non-toxic reusables. And I see that Grace is on here too. She's one of our core partners with Rethink Disposables and the Clean Water Fund alongside Upstream and Safer States. And we launched this on World Health Day, which was April 7th. So just a few weeks ago. And this campaign will be running ongoing with focus for the next 4 months. So we'll have a few rallying cries around World Refill Day, which is June 16th, and into Plastic Free July, which is a month-long campaign to encourage people to reduce their single-use plastic consumption. And this is for anyone to sign on to. I will pop the link in the chat as soon as I stop sharing my screen. And this is really for anyone to sign on to. We still have opportunities to bring on those sponsors. So if your organization, your business, your nonprofit, your community would like to co-sponsor to our Action Network event, please do let me know. I'll put my personal information in the chat so you can reach out. And we have a monthly working group call on this to talk about strategies to be rolling this out with businesses and in our communities. Great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cassia. Really appreciate all the information, sharing everything, and for helping us mobilize a campaign that's really important right now. Let's keep things moving along. Our next presenter is a GBC member. I'm just trying to tee it up for her. Okay, sorry about that. Kendra Churchwell is going to be speaking with us. She is a GBC member and speaking for our Plastics and Packaging Task Force, which is a subcommittee of our environmental working group. She is very connected to consumer packaging because she owns Aloe Goods, which is an amazing brand of handcrafted natural body care products. So please give your attention to Kendra Churchwell.
Hi, Robert. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. As Robert said, my name is Kendra, and I am here on behalf of the GBC Plastics and Packaging Task Force. And I'm here to introduce a resource we're working on called the Packaging Decision Tree. My screen just flashed. Can you see my monitor?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my company, Olive Goods, manufactures personal care products and sustainable packaging, and other GBC members like Yellow Dog Printing are also active in using sustainable consumer product packaging. Today, I'll be introducing our initial framework and goals for the decision tree, which will eventually cover multiple industries, but is first being developed for the food packaging sector. The decision tree is being designed to offer credible packaging data based on relevant and cited LCA studies that allows you to quickly narrow down your packaging choices by asking the right questions to determine what packaging is best for your product, company, and budget. By following the tree versus marketing messaging from suppliers, you'll be prepared to order samples and test your final contenders once you understand the trade-offs and benefits of various options. This includes understanding the packaging material's life cycle impacts, considers the raw materials or feedstocks that were used to manufacture, the manufacturing process itself, the distribution and transportation, and the actual customer use and end-of-life phases. In food service, your menu will largely dictate where you start on your journey. So finding the best package for hot noodle soup or a burrito, it starts with function. When you need to look at the material, then you need to look at the materials the packaging is made from, how and where those finished products are made, and then what happens to the packaging when its primary use is over. In many cases, materials or products have a very low or high impact on our environment in one phase of its life cycle, but the opposite effect in another. Our final decision tree will help you easily see these levels of impact, allowing you to make informed decisions on your packaging choices. We're also very concerned with the toxicity and chemical pollution that results from packaging and plastics in our environment, water, food, and bodies. To help you more easily avoid packaging choices that contain known harmful chemicals, the decision tree will include this data for your reference. Here's an example of one material that the tree can bring to you. Once the resource is completed, you will be able to quickly see the pros and cons of each material in order to make an educated decision on your packaging. Real quick, shout out to Erica McElvey with DU for her many hours of research on this portion of the project. And over the next few months, the GBC Plastics and Packaging Task Force will be finalizing the packaging decision trees. And we encourage you to provide feedback and suggestions by reaching out to Robert. If you would like to get an early peek, you can also reach out to Robert and let him know you would like to be an early beta tester. And also keep an eye out for the GBC emails for information about our webinar in the fall, where we will be presenting our final decision tree for all tracks.
Thank you, Kendra, for presenting that.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. And an extra, just thank you to Erica, Cynthia, and Margaret, and John, and everybody else on the packaging task force. Our next speaker is an organizational partner of ours since last summer, and some of her resources are available on resilientrestaurants.org in our Sustainable Dining Program section. This year, I'm really excited we get to work with Grace and our members more directly on a whole new level. Please welcome Grace Lee from Rethink Disposable.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Robert, thanks for the invite. You only gave me 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to breeze through this really quickly. I do have some slides to share. Should I just pop those onto do a little share screen?
Sure.
Okay. All right, here we go. So I can just briefly talk about Rethink Disposable on our program, and then some more details about our new partnership with Resilient Restaurants. So again, my name is Grace Lee. I'm the program director of Rethink Disposable. We are a program of a national nonprofit called Clean Water Fund. We have offices all over the country. And Clean Water Fund started in the 70s. We helped write and pass the Clean Water Act, and we've been going strong with grassroots mobilizing ever since. And one of Clean Water Fund's programs is Rethink Disposable. So we deal mainly with food and beverage packaging and trying to really shift that paradigm of single-use disposables being prioritized for food service to more reusable. And so the program started actually in 2011 when we did a municipal litter survey throughout San Francisco Bay Area. And this was even before Rethink Disposable was born, or even a glimmer of an idea. We wanted to really understand what was in our trash, right? So we see litter everywhere. We see food packaging everywhere. It's in our streets, it's in the ocean, it's you know, now it's in our bodies. But we really wanted to identify you know, the sources. And so we picked up a bunch of trash throughout San Francisco Bay, and we characterized all the litter, and we also did some brand identification. And we found that 67% of what we picked up from street litter was actually food and beverage packaging from food service institutions. So, you know, fast food restaurants, just regular, you know, kind of sit down restaurants and what have you. So then Rethink Disposable was born to really address that packaging waste at the source before it's even produced, right? So we're prioritizing upstream solutions for these downstream packaging problems. And since 2011, we've worked with 251 businesses throughout the Bay Area and also Los Angeles. And now we're piloting in Colorado, which we're really excited about. But you know, it's a data-driven source reduction program. So we offer technical assistance directly to businesses. We work hand in hand with them. You know, we basically become their kind of like their trainer or their personal assistant for a few months to try to identify what single-use packaging can be eliminated from food services for dine-in and a little bit of takeout these days. You know, and also in how to implement these reusables. We offer outreach and education to staff, also just the public at large. And we've also done a lot of work with helping counties and cities and our municipal partners implement these new foodware reduction ordinances. So a lot of these are, you know, coming down the pipe. So we've kind of done a lot of the work in, you know, in the streets kind of thing, helping businesses understand these foodware reduction ordinances and really implement this idea of let's prioritize reuse as something that's better for, you know, the environment, but also for the business. We've done some surveying work. We've asked, you know, people in walking around. We've talked to businesses about their thoughts and perception and habits behind their foodware decisions. You know, so how much would you, you know, would you pay 25 cents to use a reusable cup, you know, instead of a single-use cup, and what have you, and kind of some of these barriers to bringing reusables into the food operations. But you know, the last thing that we do, and it's kind of hidden behind this window, is that we do data impact analysis of these transitions. So we will go into a restaurant and we'll look at packaging procurement. So we look at how much you're purchasing, how many single-use disposable cups you're buying, how much, you know, how many utensils that you're purchasing, and so forth. And then, you know, we implement reusables, and then we do a post data impact analysis. So now how many cups are you buying? Now how many utensils are you buying, or plates, or what have you? And what's been really great about that is that a lot of times business owners don't keep these records of exactly how much they are spending on these single-use disposables, something that happens right on a regular basis all these little costs kind of add up over the year. So we're able to really look at what are the co-benefits of implementing reusables in food operations, across the year. And what we've found is that small business operators save money by going reusables. So this was actually a really amazing surprise to us after implementing this program, because we were just all about waste reduction. But what we were really happy to see is that when a restaurant goes from this before picture of all of these reusables, like this restaurant actually was called Honolulu Barbecue, and they served, even for dine-in, they served everything on a disposable packaging item. So they had like 13 different boxes and containers for all of their menu items, and we brought them to 100% reusable transition. And what we found that across the year, over the course of a year, the average annual results for a small to medium business is that there's an elimination of 115,000 disposable packaging items, a lot of it being plastic. 1,300 pounds of waste is prevented over the year. And, it accounts for about 60%, an average of about 60% reduction of these packaging items that we target for reductions by implementing reusables. And the best part about this is that a small to medium business will save on average $3,000 to $21,000 in net cost savings across the year. And this is after a payback period of just a few months. So, and this is looking at labor costs, and maybe installing a dishwasher, hiring a part-time person to wash dishes. This also accounts for water usage, utilities, any changes to utilities, and also any kind of ongoing cost to sustain these reusable, reuse-centric operations. Actually, for the interest of time, I'm gonna kind of just go over this or skip this slide altogether. But what I wanted to bring up here is that, we have again worked with 251 restaurants since 2011, and saving our food business community about $650,000 in annual net cost savings cumulatively. And that's actually equivalent to the amount of money that California spends every year on cleaning trash up from our streets. And so, it's really an encouragement of these upfront investments in the beginning upstream before we have to do all of the cleanup after the waste gets into the environment. And so with all of that said, with this new partnership with Robert, we're hoping to bring Rethink Disposable and all of these co-benefits to Colorado. And we're actually looking for 4 restaurants to pilot this new initiative. So we're looking for 4 restaurants or cafes, even food trucks, to try to develop some really innovative transitions from single-use to reusables. And what this will come with is our kind of you'll get a personal assistant basically for a few weeks to help you make go through this transition. And also you'll hear from John in a few minutes, but we've also developed a wonderful partnership with Plastic Free Restaurants, who is actually going to help subsidize the purchase of reusables for this transition. So non-plastic reusables, right, John? And so we're really thankful for both of these partnerships, and we're hoping to bring more of these reuse-centric operations to Colorado. So if anyone is interested at all, please definitely hit us up.
Thank you, Grace. That was a great segue, bringing up John and what we've been able to do to just triangulate our resources and collaborate. It's going to be a great year, and already someone in the chat has expressed interest to be one of the 4 Rethink Disposable pilot members. So let's
awesome.
We got to get to John, and then we'll have maybe a couple of minutes maybe of Q&A this session, but let's keep moving. Thank you, Grace. She mentioned John Charles Meyer We have an organizational partner called plasticfreerestaurants.org, which offers grant subsidies to our members who transition away from plastic packaging. He's been working with several of our members already over the last number of months, and he'd love to add more businesses to the national directory of plastic-free restaurants. Please welcome John Charles Meyer to the big screen.
There we go. How's it going?
Hi, John.
How are
Good
you?
afternoon.
I'm trying to share screen. I don't know if I'm doing it right. In the interest of time, I'm just going to run through this because I feel like a lot of this is preaching to the choir. So mostly what I want to convey here is what we're here for. Plasticfreerestaurants.org exists to, well, here, I'll go through the slides. We all want the same thing, right? Less plastic. What, are you seeing my screen? Yes. You're
Yes.
seeing my screen. Okay, great.
Yes.
So we all want the same thing, less plastic. What's the biggest barrier? The almighty dollar. Enter plasticfreerestaurants.org. We cover the cost difference between the petroleum-based plastic that a restaurant currently uses and the certified compostable and/or reusable products that it agrees to use instead. In other words, we pay restaurants to stop using plastic, period. The fine print. So for compostables, 100% of a restaurant's petroleum-based single-use items that touch customers, in other words, front of house, must be eliminated, period. One location per parent company. So we're happy to work with any chain out there. If McDonald's calls, we're happy to subsidize one location for them, but it's just going to be one location per parent company. We only cover certified compostables, either certified by BPI or CMA. A restaurant may purchase other plant-based single-use items, but they won't be subsidized. We offer a 100% subsidy for 6 months, a 50% subsidy for another 6 months, and a 10% subsidy for another year after that. So if you send us your invoices for 2 full years, we will send you checks in the mail for 2 full years, albeit on a sliding scale downward. We offer a 100% subsidy for a full year if a restaurant contracts with a composting facility within the first 90 days of receiving its first check from us. And one more fine print item, if a single-use item, for example, a plastic straw, is outlawed by the local municipality or state, its replacement is no longer subsidized. So we're not going to cover you for, we're not going to pay you to abide by the law, essentially. Reusables, the fine print. This is where Grace comes in. 100% of petroleum-based items still must be eliminated, meaning that if you're only replacing your dine-in with reusables, but your takeout with compostables, that's fine, but you still have to get rid of all your plastic. We're not going to pay for your reusables if you're still sending plastic garbage out the door for takeout. Still one location per parent company, still the same subsidy. I'm sorry, not the same subsidy, 100% of the cost difference between a single-use plastic item and the reusable item replacing it, up to $5 per wood, metal, or glass item, up to $2 at a 50% subsidy for every plastic item, which should be in there, but it isn't. Restaurants switching to reusable delivery services, for example, Dispatch Goods in San Francisco, Gracious City, may also qualify for a subsidy, but there are some monthly caps. We do not subsidize equipment or labor costs associated with switches to reusables. However, Rethink Disposable.org has amazing case studies showing how restaurant after restaurant has saved money by switching to reusables, as Grace just said. What's our overhead so far? Under 5% per date. Where's the money coming from? So far, just private donations. Our pitch to donors is your $20 keeps 1,000 plastic straws out of oceans and landfills. $60 keeps 1,000 plastic cups out. $111 keeps 1,000 plastic containers out of oceans and landfills. $400 makes a small restaurant plastic free for a month. All donations are tax deductible because we're a 501c3 nonprofit. How can you help as an individual? Follow us on social media. Let us know about restaurants you know of that are already plastic free. And I definitely want to connect with Cassia about that. While she was giving her speech, I tried to find their TOS program online. I found a 40-page PDF, but I couldn't find a list of restaurants. So I definitely want to connect with Cassia about that. See if we can, work together and maybe save each other some time. Also, if you know of a restaurant owner or manager that you may be interested in our program, please introduce us. Obviously, you can donate and you can join our board. Finally, that's our hashtag, that's our logo. If you've got any questions, here, I'll get out of this share screen thing. Stop share. Where's the chat? This is my email address. Feel free to contact me with any questions. Oh, that just went to panelists. Can you share that, Robert, to everybody?
I will.
Thank you. So yeah, if you've got any questions, if you'd like to reach out to us about the subsidy, if you just want to know how it works more, please feel free to reach out. Thanks for having me, Robert. I appreciate it. Good to see you, Grace.
Absolutely, John. We wouldn't be able to make so much headway without your support. We are grateful more than you realize. We have just a couple of minutes here, but I think that the best thing to do would probably be just to wrap up. We will, as I said, answer unanswered questions in writing, and we'll be able to follow up with everybody after the event. Just kind of want to keep things on timing. I did just repost the link to our program guide, and there's a page in there that has resource links to some of the other programs that I wanted to mention right now during this Q&A. And so I'm just going to say their name and direct you to that document for you to find more information. And thank you so much for all the first session panelists. And I apologize, we're not going to have our Q&A session. But the mentions that I would like to make very quickly are one of our members, Somebody People in Denver. They're a restaurant member, and last year they started with their own reusable tiffin program. They got a lot of press about it. They're doing amazing things. I wanted to mention a couple of online mobile app partners that we're working with. The first one is Plastic Score, and that's under the leadership of Mladen Gajic, and it's a really cool and effective way to give plastic and packaging feedback to your restaurants in your area that you're dining out at. It's for takeout and dine in, and they offset basically the negative impact of your dining experience. It's a great app to go with. Another Denver partner of ours under the leadership of Beth Birchfield is Remark, which is a mobile app for customer reviews, but you can give positive or critical reviews through the system, and they actually email the CEO or a C-suite level person at that company to get your comments directly engaged with them. We're working on a new partnership with Inland Ocean Coalition, and there's interest in creating a directory for Colorado's sustainable seafood restaurants. And there are two quick companies that I wanted to mention to you. One is Eco6 Pack Ring, for all you craft brewer lovers here in Colorado. These are biodegradable, ring sets for cans, 4-packs and 6-packs of cans, and they are now available through distribution at 5280 Packaging. I also wanted to highlight Holy City wheat straws because these are great. And I've talked to a lot of people that are using paper straws, and I appreciate that. But these wheat straws, for their affordability and for the coolness factor, they work really well. They last longer than paper straws, and they don't affect the flavor of what you're drinking. Holy City Wheat Straws does offer a membership to Resilient Restaurants members, in addition to Eco Products, Vegware, and World Centric, which we recommend to folks looking for certified compostable products. John, did I miss anybody in terms of discounts?
Discounts through us?
For our memberships, yeah, that we've.
There are additional discounts available and shown on the spreadsheet that's available on the resources page of our website.
Okay,
There's about
great.
15 companies in total that we've gotten committed discounts from. So
awesome. Thank you.
That
Thank you
spreadsheet's
very much.
publicly available. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that concludes our first session, and we're moving right along to our second session, No Rest for the Weary.